All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the October 7th, 2020 virtual meeting for the Board of Selectmen tonight. I'll start off with a preamble that we do at each of these meetings. Good evening. As Chairman of the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen, I am declaring that an emergency exists and I'm invoking the provisions of RSA 91-A:2, 3B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community and its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services which are vital to the public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should the disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So we'll start the meeting by taking a roll call of attendance, and when each member states a name, please state whether there is anyone in the room with them under the right to know law. Linda, we'll start off with you.
I'm alone by myself in a room in my house.
Okay. Dave Senecal?
I'm here in my office by myself, and you might see Abby run through once in a while.
Thank you. Dave Bowers?
Here at home with wife and pet cat.
Okay. And I'm here in the house, alone in the room right now. You might hear a dog snoring right beside me. She's getting into a deep sleep, so. Okay, so we'll start off the meeting. Mr. Pino, do we have a need for a non-public session this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. We do not.
Okay, thank you. So the next order of business is, I think back up here. We have the, still have one, do I have the right agenda here? Yep. Is Jim and Elizabeth with us this evening for the temporary event permit?
Mr. Chairman, I do not see them. I did speak with Amy earlier today, and they were aware of the meeting, so I don't know if something has transpired or what, but I do not see them.
Brad?
Is this something we want to? Yes, Linda?
I have a question. I thought last time we talked about this not being a temporary event, but rather that the board will grant permission, because the temporary event permit says that it has to be a not-for-profit. And so we as the Board of Selectmen can just grant permission for them to use it and just not put it on the temporary statute.
Kind of like a wedding type thing. It'd be more of an event, like you said.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
How does the board feel? Do you want to move forward with it, or do you want to kind of just go on to the business, see if they join us later and do it then? Or?
Let's move forward.
Let's just do it.
Okay. I wasn't obviously at the last meeting there. I assume you guys talked about it some more there, did you, the other night? At the last budget
information. We were waiting for the insurance writer and to try to understand whether they could get one. And I got an email from Amy today saying they could get that insurance writer, which was what was holding this event up.
Well, do we want to make a motion to approve it pending being produced the certificate of insurance?
I can make that motion if you would like.
Certainly.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. I move that we grant permission to Elizabeth and James Shannon to host a Halloween trick or treat event on October 31st, 2020 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Clark Museum Complex, contingent upon the town receiving an insurance waiver and that they follow all Governor Sununu's emergency orders.
And Dave Sankel seconded that, I heard.
I
Do we have
did.
any other discussion on it? we have any other discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman votes yes also. Okay. Next, we'll move into our budget proposals. First on the agenda is Public Works. And Dave with us here. So do you want to start out with any comments at all first, Dave, or do you just want us to jump right into these, or?
Brad? Well, I just would say first, make sure everyone can hear me and see me okay. Are we okay with regards to our video and?
Yep.
All set?
Yep.
I think
Hang on just,
summary, if we start
Dave,
off.
hang on just a second. Did somebody want to ask a quick question before we got into this? Was that you, Alyssa?
I'm only tuning in just for the Halloween piece.
Okay.
And the last meeting, Jim talked about talking to the fire chief, and I see all your rules are up on the website. But so is it established how things are going to go? That it's going to go, it says one direction. Is someone going to direct that? Was there any other plan, any maps or anything that people are going to get?
Jim?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Alyssa. We discussed this internally, and the reality of trying to create the one-way traffic, we're really looking for people to use some common sense in this.
Okay.
We want people to utilize, you know, if they see people coming down the street to try and create separation, we know that this is a challenge, but we don't want to, we made the decision that we don't want to get into a point where, you know, it's one-way traffic and fixed, where we
Okay.
would have to enforce it and create compliance. We really are looking for people to use common sense, keep distancing, and have a good time, but be cognizant of what is going on out in the world.
Okay, and that applies all over town. It's not just Clark, anywhere people want to go. But
Right,
there is no event at Town Hall this year, right? And there's nothing there's nothing at the fire station. People should know that those things are not going to be in play. Am I right?
I think you'll have to check with the fire chief. I believe that they were going to try and hold some form of an event, but they were going to make it very specific on that it was going to be one-way traffic around that facility, but you'll have to check with him.
Okay, okay. All right, I think that's it.
Okay, thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
right.
Okay, Dave.
So I just would say that Jim put together the budget with a summary sheet, and if we just look at the summary, I can make an overall comment about the big picture stuff. And that's regarding, as the budget was submitted, we see a significant decrease in the garage, and that's a result of fuel costs going down, a deduction of almost $17,000. And then we see a major increase on the solid waste line item of $88,000, and that's mostly of a contracted services that goes out to bid. And 5 years ago, Waste Management came in and low bid the job, and that was good for us. We got a low bid for 5 years, but they didn't give us the best service, and we kept trying to hold them to the contract. They kept balking. This year, they put in a bid much higher, and then Casella, who had the bid 6 years ago, had come back in what we feel is a fair bid, but still much more than we had in the budget. So that's the biggest increase there. And then we have some shift of manpower, and that's resulting in the building and grounds budget going up significantly, as we're now charging a half of a person, of a full-time person, which we are now assigning to that division to work on building and grounds, in addition to half-time working at the solid waste facility during the summer months. And then in return for that, we took away a full-time position out of highway and put in a half-time position in highway for summer construction, for helping out with some labor issues. So that's the big picture issue. As we see, totally the whole fund is up 113,000 or 4%. And those are mostly again for those reasons which were somewhat out of our control. And then we did add a capital outlay this year, which we'll speak about at the end of the project. But that's a quick summary of the finances where we are. And it does not include a discussion about my proposal. We've recommended to have a town engineer position to come in, and that's obviously something that we can talk after we get through the what was submitted.
All right, thank you, Dave. We'll jump right into the administration line then. We have the 100 series.
I have a question, Brad.
Sure.
Dave, last year, did we move Marie from a 35-hour-a-week to a 40-hour-a-week employee?
I
The
don't.
reason I'm asking overtime, we didn't put in any overtime, and I thought that's what took place here.
So she was in 2020 budget. She was budgeted for, I think, the 40 hours per week. That was your one question, and then we might have cut the overtime last year. So this year, I don't. You're asking the question. What's she budgeted on this year?
What I was saying is exactly it. In 2019, she was 35 hours. In 2020, we took her to 40, and then we got rid of, at least what I'm seeing, part-time wages.
Well, yes, we stopped.
Overtime. We got rid of overtime. And now you can see we're now asking for a significant increase in overtime. And that's why I thought we moved her to 40 hours in 2020 was to get rid of the overtime. And now we're creeping back up with a large overtime.
Okay, so the overtime is more related to she was taking notes of meetings. I think that's why we had submitted that for the doing additional notes of meeting and typing them up at home because it's hard to get them typed up during the day. The hourly was again 40 hours a week, but then there was some discussion about office hours in town hall, and I'm not exactly sure. As I'm looking at my sheet now, I don't have my breakdown of the hours, so I can't tell you exactly what the budget is for. But I think Jim, do you know for sure how many hours we have for her?
Yeah, and this has been a challenge, but it is budgeted for 40 hours this week. There was a lot of dialogue. It's not well defined in the union contract as far as the number of hours this employee works. But you are spot on in the 2020 budget proposal. Overtime was eliminated, and that does ring a bell in my mind that part of that had to do with transitioning to 40 hours.
So if she's taking notes, okay, Dave, and that amount really should go back up into the executive budget. And I thought we were going to hire somebody and get all our, Amy and Marie out of doing those minutes because they really need to be supporting the services of the town. And we put an ad in, and I thought we had somebody to do committee meetings.
So I believe the closing date on the recording secretary positions is next week. At this point, I think we have 2 candidates who have applied. We're not going to interview until the closing date. But once the closing date hits, we will schedule interviews, and then we'll know better who we have to do what for recording capacity.
That closing date was 11/6.
So my feeling is this, just when I look at it, either you better have a good explanation so that the budget committee knows what that is, or that's going to be taken out of here pretty quickly. Because it looked, different to me.
Again, Linda, the other issue with overtime is we can't, sometimes we have a rush and there's need for her to stay late because of a particular project. And we can't comp time. She's a union, so after, 8 hours a day, she has to be paid overtime, even if she's taking time off the next day, or if she has hours, or working 35 hours a week. So we do have to have some budget for overtime, because there are times when there's a crisis and she has to stay and work, or some of it was planned with regards to notes and meetings. So maybe we can look at this number and reduce it a little bit if we do get someone to take those notes and take that responsibility away from her. But there is some need for some line item. That's what I think we realized when we put it to zero last year, and said, well, we got to pay her because it's a labor laws after 8 hours.
I guess what I'm saying, I'm not going to try to cut it here. That's not my thing, but it jumped out at me right away when I looked at this. And that there was something, especially because usually we should see a decrease in the hourly wages and the supervisory, because it was 53 weeks last year. There's only 52 this week, so most of them. So just, that's going to trigger. So either make sure you have a good explanation on why it is, or it's going to get cut. So we decide what it's for and be able to answer that more clearly.
Okay, any other questions?
You don't see a significant any reduction in the hourly wages is because this employee is a union employee, and you have to remember that that was agreed on in the union contract. So those numbers have been put in here, which actually brought the wage line up compared to where it would have been last year, just so you're aware.
So the contract, so in essence, this line has the 2021 wage increase.
The 2020 wage increase, not the 21. When the 2020 budget was proposed,
Does it have the step?
the 2020 does, the 2021 does not, because it has to go in front of the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions or comments on the 100 series? I'll go on to the 200 series. $300 series. $400 series. $500 series. $600 series. $800 series. Okay, that takes care of administration. On the highways and streets. 100 series.
I have a question on 100 series.
Yep.
Dave, if I understood you when you started, that the reason we see a decrease in hourly wages is that you have less employees.
We have one less full-time employee, and we have one new part-time employee. So you'll see a part-time increase in the part-time.
Yeah. So in other words, we had 10 who were hourly wages last year. We have 9 this year.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else on the 100 series? 200 series? $300 series? $400 series?
I have a question on the 400 series 440 rentals and leases. Is that increase due to we are renting a mini excavator didn't last?
The question got broke up. I didn't get the question, Jim. Could you hear it? Did you
Seems
hear it?
like it's the-
Yes, Linda, I do believe that the increase in this line
It's
is
the
relative to the
difference.
mini excavator rental. Is that correct, Dave?
You're on rentals and leases?
Yes, 440.
Thank you. It broke up when she asked the question. I just
Yep.
didn't. So the increase 1875, yes. Yeah, that's for,
On rentals and lease, 440.
Yep,
so the answer, yes, it's for the mini rental. We find in certain digs, it's much more efficient use a small machine, you do less damage and get into tight spots. So this is budgeting so many hours for those, for that purpose, which we've been using in the past. And we're just calling out how we're spending this money. We think it's an important item.
it looks like it's just a 1-week rental, right, Dave?
We
5
actually,
days.
5 days, yes, that's a daily rental. We might do a day here, 2 days there. We don't do it all at once. We do a little, 1 day at a time. Sometimes we just do it for a few hours. With Bradley's, we can lease them for a couple hours,
Yep.
actually.
Yep, good. Well, that makes sense. Anything else on 400 series? $600 series?
630, maintenance supplies, it's up 48,000. But it looks to me, wait a second, no, it's up 48,000. Was that cut dramatically last year by the budget committee?
Give me a second, I'll check.
Okay.
That's correct. Last year, we had applied for 232,000 and it was cut. And so we put back the numbers we had requested last year, I think, which was cut somewhere along the budget. But the increases are for doing additional shimming and graveling the roads. I think Brad had asked to put 10,000 in, so we carried that 10,000 into this. So we did have some adjustments in and out of that account, but the problem with this format is my spreadsheets don't line up this year's with last year's, and we have so many items on this detail. Actually, I'm going back and forth.
I'm fine with the fact that you're telling me that it was cut in the last budget cycle, because it's a significantly lower in 2020 than in 2019. So.
Yeah, it looks like they cut it to match 2019's.
Yes.
And I guess the question I would have too, Dave, is in our books, we've got 112,300 or so spent now. I'm assuming more bills will be coming in to get that number up.
Yeah, well, one of the things we haven't even started building the salt in the stand stockpile, so we'll burn through that pretty quickly. Once we're done with the road construction, we're going to start hauling now and building up both those, and that's where a lot of the materials are going to come. The expense will come from those line items.
Can you
So
get
it'll
it?
be important.
Go ahead,
I think it'll be important for the budget committee to see that number's, not $70,000 or $80,000 under was budgeted. It'd be nice to see that put up over a little bit. So.
If I may, I'll dig a little more into this in my budget book in the office. According to what I see, last year, Dave and I had a conversation, and Dave and I were the ones who made this cut. So Dave and I will sit down, figure out why we made that cut, and that way we can have the answer for the budget committee going forward.
That would be fine for me.
Anything else in the 600 series?
Yeah, again, we have this issue with gasoline, which seems awful low. I know the price went down. That looks awful low. We also have, it looks low in diesel. And we've been seeing that, Dave, through all the accounts, and I expected to see the garage and see a big increase. There still seems to be something wrong with the way the gasoline and diesel are being accounted for in the different budgets.
Well, we have, if we check the gallons used a year to date, it's not that far off. We just got very lucky in the fuel for 2 months. The gasoline price dropped down to $1. So we were getting rack price when the price dropped down. So we got a really good price on the gasoline. And the diesel obviously is a bid price, but the second half of the year, we got a bid price much less than a budget price. So we should see a significant savings, not only in the public works garage, which we are accounting for that, but it's then shared as just as much throughout all the departments because we have the double billing there. And next year, this is a reflection why it's going to be cut. You'll see the budget cut in highway, and it's also going to be cut in the garage because of the bid that went out. We're still at risk for 6 months for the diesel, but and obviously the gasoline price is a float number anyway, so that can go up or down. If you want, I can get the usage reports and just check you. Maybe I should do that, give you a year to date about the gallons, and we can. Is that what you're concerned about, Linda? That the financial.
This one, and we have it in other budgets where there just isn't enough gas being used, so that would probably make sense. And you're probably going to get the same questions at the budget committee. So if you have that, it would be helpful.
Yeah, we'll get the gallons year to date versus the dollars, because I think that's where people get the budget's not being used because of the savings with the fuel price dropping.
Yep. The 600 series? 700 series?
Yeah, I have one in the 700 series. If I read this 740, it looks like the
800 series?
the 700 series. I have one in the 740. It looks like $7,800 was removed by Jim Pinio. And can you explain why you removed that?
Yeah.
Reversible plate compactor.
Yep, so this was actually an item that we had put into the 2020 budget. Dave's working on getting that completed now. So that was in the budget. Dave and I caught it, and it's been removed since. So that's what that reflects. Just one question: does your budget sheet reflect that reduction in the town manager's column? Yeah, I didn't think it did. That's been updated. It does reflect it now.
Okay.
I think Brad froze.
I think you did too.
Anything else in the 700 series? 800 series? Oh, I think I just lost everybody. Says my thing's reconnecting here. Yeah, I got everybody back. Everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. So we left off on the 800 series. We all good there?
I'm fine.
Okay. So next up is the garage, right?
Mm-hmm.
100 series. $200 series. $300 series.
Vehicle maintenance is up
400 series.
5,000.
$600 series.
I think Linda had a question, Brad?
I just was wondering on vehicle maintenance, we went up, we
430.
doubled it. Was that something that took place, was cut a lot last year?
Linda, under that line item, that's for the public works garage vehicle.
Yeah, I didn't
itself.
catch it all. Is it-
They have to get 5 new tires and other stuff. Their vehicle is getting a little old, so that's a lot of money going into their vehicles, I believe.
Oh, this is their vehicle. Okay. Yep.
Wait a second. No, I'm just reading that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Vehicle maintenance.
No, that's not right.
It says for brakes, lights, bearing, exhaust system, and emissions. And then there was one for tires. Did we not budget last year for lights, brakes, bearing, exhaust system, and emissions?
What we did is anything that's over $500 is billed directly to the department. So we're not buying it and reselling it like we do the gasoline. So in situations, we're only on smaller items under 500 are normally is what we're dealing with here. But in case of the public works garage vehicle, if it has an item, it has to come out of this budget. So it's a little confusing. But yes, this used to be a very large item. Over time, we've got it reduced down to the minimum. And then this year, we're asking to go back up because we've already overspent it. And we think the buffer should be around 10,000. And that is a line item that is, again, if it's a big item, we bill it directly and we don't cut the PO. But sometimes we have to on a vehicle for the public works garage, or there's small items that we end up buying.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good on the 400 series. 600 series. $700 series. $800 series. That wraps up the garage. Buildings and grounds. $100 series.
I have a question on 100 series. We have a new half-time position here, hourly wages.
Correct.
There was
So
nothing.
the position that was in highway, last year's budget, or this year's budget as a full-time highway, it's taken out of highway, and it's a full-time position. And the reason we did that, we couldn't find a full-time worker in the summer months to work the split shift at the solid waste facility. It requires someone to work 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday, as well as 3 days in a week. So after discussions with Adam and the town manager, we decided the need is to get that position with a full-time person who knows how to run that system, because we're short. So we decided to make that move permanent. And then in the winter months, when the solid waste is much slower, this person is going to be dedicated to working on grounds and maintenance, and in fact has already started helping out because again, we have part-time positions doing barrel maintenance downtown. And again, those are positions that are very difficult to fill. And then summer help leaves. And then, so this person already is doing both working grounds as well as working solid waste. And then, so this is kind of in line with the selectmen's goals of trying to get more people working on that versus just picking someone out of water, someone out of highway when there's an emergency. So hopefully that's what you were thinking, and that's what we did here this year.
So shouldn't there be a note that's saying because of the decrease in the highway, that this is not a new position, it's just a reallocation of staff? Because if you look at it without your explanation, it looks like it's a new position, you know, and I can go back and I was trying to figure it out through here, but what I didn't know is that you had cut one person out of public, of highway, and you may need to put that note there too, saying there is a decrease of 1 employee in highway. You used to have 10 employees, now you only have 9. Am I correct? That's what I thought you told me there.
No, absolutely, which is, I don't, guess is, I'm not sure. Where would we put that in the budget? I guess, I don't know how I submitted it here. Where do we put its reallocation versus, because we don't say it's a new position, it just goes from 0 to 1,800. But you think we should put a line item here just saying this is a reallocation of manpower?
Just put a note, yes. You put a note up on the hourly saying we decreased 1 employee, and then you write down here, this is part of the reallocation from highway. So the budget committee understands that that's done. We haven't, you know, we didn't hire somebody new here. We reallocated and decreased the staff position in one place and allocated to somewhere else, if I understand it correctly.
Well, I said that in my opening, I said it in highway, and I'm saying the 3rd time, but I should write it down. We'll have to figure out how we can.
I ended up going through these budgets without that information. I got circles all over the place, which brought all these questions. If that had been noted underneath, then we would know that that's what you've done.
Yeah, we can certainly put a correspondence in here that notes that, and I'll work with Dave on that, not a problem.
Okay. Okay, 200 series. $300 series.
I have a question on the 300 series. Dave, how long do we have the bathrooms or restrooms at Dockside open? Were they open the full season?
Yes, we probably were one of the few municipalities that did not close us. We put up a sign indicating how we cleaned them and how people should be safe and continue to use them. And we really did pretty well. The bathrooms were used quite a bit this summer, so they had the full hours. And our maintenance crew that does that, the outside services, they did a nice job for us. And right now, they normally would be closed because of the shutting down of the seasonal water lines. But this is an insulated building, so we can keep them open. So we're going to keep them open for a little bit longer, and we will have the ability to reopen them if we do want to around the holidays. So the question is, they did get the full hours, and it was, yeah, everything went pretty well.
Is there something not allocated there? Because it says you only have spent 7,000. Is there something missing there?
More than likely, yeah.
That's why I asked. To date, you've only, end of September, you only had 7,000. It looks like there should be more expense allocated if they were open the full time. That's why I asked the question, were they open the whole time? Because you should have spent more money by now.
No, there certainly other parts of the budget we have not spent because we did freeze things and we had done some capital work there, so we did not buy the benches, and we did not get the additional trash receptacles, I don't believe. The extra cleanings also was not necessary. This year, for some reason, we didn't have some of the disgusting things we've had in the past. So we did save some money overall. And the budget, I would assume it just needs to be catching up. So we'll get an up-to-date reading on that to see where we are. And I can, because I think we'll spend all the janitorial services, but we will come in under budget on some of the other line items.
Okay. Anything else on 300 series? 400 series? 500 series. $600 series. 700 series. And 800 series. Okay, wraps that one up. Next, we got solid waste disposal facility. $100 series. $200 series.
I have a
300
question.
series. Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Brad, I have a question on the 200 series. We've had a decrease in salaries in solid waste. Never mind, I got it. Never mind.
Okay. We're good with 200 series. 300 series. So quite a cut in our consultants line there, Dave. Is there some parts of the landfill monitoring we don't need to do anymore? Do we get reduced scope that we need to deal with? Or is there some other type of thing we're not doing this year?
The last
311.
Yeah, we had some special things that had to get done, and I'll be quite honest with you, we're having a little bit of issues with DES and getting information they want and what we want to give them. So there's some back and forth going on. So yeah, this year should have been a normal year, which would have dropped it. But we're still dealing with this issue we had from last year, and hopefully we'll be okay with this budget going forward.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. 400 series. $500 series.
Oh, can I go back up to 435?
You
And this is
certainly
just-
can.
Actual on 219 is a negative figure. Looks like something's wrong there.
Minus 2,134.
Yeah.
We lost it. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
35.
Look into that.
2009 actual spent is a negative number. That has to be corrected. There's something wrong there.
435, Dave.
Look at 2019.
Yeah.
It's a chief problem.
Yeah, we'll have to, should have somebody check the entries on that.
Sometimes we charge things and get credits back as an insurance. I don't know if this is an insurance thing and money was put back in the budget after we spent it. Because it doesn't look like we had a very big line item. So, but we have to look into that. That is an odd duck. Every once in a while, I'll see something like that.
Yep. Anything else on 400?
No.
500 series. $600 series.
I just have a question about 680, and it's what's spent to date. Is there some more safety equipment we're going to purchase before the end of the year? There's only $1,216 spent. We're asking for an increase of $1,325. So there seems like we should be spending more in that line item if we're looking for an increase.
Again, I hate to be like a broken record, but usually winter gear is, they're getting up now into the winter gear, so they'll be purchasing stuff like that. We've had someone off on leave for quite a bit of time, so he hasn't spent any money. And, that will be mostly used by the end of the year, I can assure you. One other thing we want to mention, I don't know, the household hazardous waste day is kind of a pass-through. Jim, did we get any late information from Sarah Silk about changes to this budget? And I think she might have had something late, and I wasn't sure if it was impacting our budget or a percentage, and so we might have to, I want to revisit that one. I apologize for not, I just have something in the back of my mind that she had asked.
I don't recall, but I don't recall seeing anything, Dave. But
Okay, all right, maybe, let me just put a note, I'll check that myself.
And that's something we should probably revisit too, that line item.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
she gave
that's
us,
a good idea.
thought it was all set, it's in here. But then I,
Usually we have a budget. I don't have a budget as a backup from her. And usually we get that. So I have nothing.
Yeah, so we'll put that on the revisit list for us too. Okay, anything else in 400? 500? 600? 700 series? Looks like we're buying 2 new containers, Dave, aren't we, for line item 740?
yes, the containers get beat up pretty good. That's what we're using to move all the equipment around. We have been patching them, trying to, this has been on the item in the past, and we have not purchased them. We've repaired them, saving money. But this year we're going to have to start replacing these. They're pretty well beat up. So these are new and another big increase in the budget.
The haulers seem to take pretty good care of them when they take them off, bring them back. We get the same ones back every time, or if they're our own.
Well, that becomes a problem when you have these long-term contracts. They tend to get beat up pretty bad. So with waste management, we find them pretty rough with the equipment, and but on the other hand, they get beat up. We have to swap them out. They're being pushed around. The containers are beat up pretty good. You see them; they're banged up, and we've had them for a long period of time. So there's one open top and one with the trash goes in the closed top container. We're looking at replacing next year.
Yeah. Ever put any thought into seeing what a price difference would be if we got our own roll-off truck to haul our own containers?
Well, that's a real interesting question, because when you look at the scale of economy and you look at the hauling contract and how much it's worth, the problem is you got to have almost 2 trucks and a couple drivers, because there's so many containers being hauled all over the place. And as it is now, I can't hire anyone at the rates that these guys are getting paid. As it is, we're hard to get qualified CDLs now. So and the capital expense would be pretty significant, in terms of those type of. So it's not something we've really looked into seriously, but it's obviously a big line item. And if we had the time, it might be something we'd want to consider alternatives, because you look at that line item, you go back to that outside services, you look at the hauling costs, there's quite a bit of money there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I looked at it in Ospey there and stuff, and we didn't have quite enough volume to pay off for ourselves. So, but I know, over here, we'll probably haul a heck of a lot more than we do in Ospey. So.
Yeah, you add up our hauling costs, that line item is almost $500,000. The bigger line item is actually the tipping fee. So if you haul, you got to go bring it somewhere, and then you got to get a good deal. And waste management, they can kill you, because if you don't have a lot, they're not going to give you a good deal. And you go up north with Casella now, they're moving the trash around to their facility. So it's kind of it's an interesting business, but it's one that I prefer not to get any further in than we are in right now, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. So 800 series. Okay, I think that wraps up that one. So now Move on to water and sewer.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we launch into that, I did, these are unaudited numbers, but I did speak with Linda today, and I promised her numbers, and I didn't get it out. But the 2019 revenues for the water department was $1,801,315. Year to date for 2020 is $1,553,884. And again, the 2019 numbers are obviously unaudited, but that gives you an idea of what the revenues look like for the water department. And I will get that revenue report emailed to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
For some reason, I don't have any information for the first two, the sewage collection and the wastewater treatment. Unless I put them in the wrong spot
Yeah.
somewhere.
No, I don't either, Brad.
Okay.
I had Jim, I think those were the ones I asked for and you emailed them to me. I think they were ones that were missing from our book. And I had asked you when you emailed them, and so I didn't realize everybody didn't have them.
Yeah, me either. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to go line by line and read them off? Would you like me to put it up on the screen? What would you like to do?
Actually, if you could put up on the screen, I think that would work, Jim. Can we get through it tonight? The easiest way.
Okay,
It's just those two. Yep.
bear with me just a second. Okay, is everybody able to see that okay?
Yep. You have the actual line items too, Jim?
There you go.
Perfect. And if my glasses were a little stronger, I'd be all set. There we go. Okay, can everybody see them there? So hit the 100 series. $200 series. Coming up in the 300 series.
We're going to have to take all of the 300, the 382s and all the enterprise funds are all going to have to be calculated at the end of this. So I don't know if that's something we revisit at the end of our
That'd be a good
revisit list.
idea. That'd be a good idea.
Yep.
I think it's still worth going through this like we are tonight to at least get a good look at it. Coming up in the 400 series. Five, 600 series actually is next. $700 series coming up. $900 series here now. Okay. We're on to wastewater treatment. Okay, 1 200 and a 300 series now.
I have just a question for Dave on the 300 contract services. I see that we're in the 5th year of that contract with them. Are you still satisfied with Wooden and Curran?
Yeah, I
Are
think
you
we're-
still satisfied with Wooden?
We can continue to be a responsible partner, and we had discussions about potentially looking at taking back the contract from them with regards to trying to save money. But I think they've been doing an excellent job, and we can recognize the value they bring to the town. Next year, we'll have to sit down and look at that, whether or not we want to sign up with them again for a long-term contract, whether we want to bid the services out or whether we want to take those over. The thing we're doing this year is selecting a new wastewater consultant to help us look at our long-term plan with regards to the capital projects as well as the operations contract. So something we'll be looking at. But right now, they've been doing great for us, and we look forward to having them for at least one more year.
Thank you.
$400 series. Okay, it wraps up that one. I think, does everybody else have the distribution service in their books? The treatment plant, the next two I have in my book. Everybody else good with?
Yeah, water distribution?
Yeah.
Yes.
You got that in your book, Dave? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
we'll go
do.
back to our books now, Jim, if you'd like.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. As well, I can give you some revenue numbers for 2019 and 2020 year to date.
Okay,
For the sewer department. So 2019 revenue was 1,962,793. Again, these are unaudited numbers. 2020 year to date is 1,667,134.
seems like we're right on pace to even bring a little more revenue in. I assume that'd be through September.
Those revenues, we've actually created a much more efficient model, and those revenues are through the end of last week.
Okay. Halfway through October too, almost. Oops. Gonna ask Dave if it, Dave, dry summer we've had, have you noticed much more favorable numbers for our I and stuff in the sewer collection system?
Yes, we did. We saw a lot less wastewater, so our numbers will be as low as they've been in years. Yet on the other end, our water numbers have been as high as they've been because people are using the water, and luckily, because of the leak, and other things we've done, our usage has been low. So coming into the season, we had a full reservoir, and we were not as impacted as other communities were by the drought. We are low now, but nowhere near an issue that we have to be concerned about. And we'll start to see, normal precipitation should bring us back to a full pond shortly. So we did see increased use by water, so we should have increased revenues on both water and sewer side because of that. So I think that's what you're seeing. And luckily, our community has been paying the bills. So I don't think we have too much in the rear. So that's good news also.
That's good. Okay, so why don't we jump into the distribution service for the water? 100 series. $200 series. $300 series. $400 series.
Yeah, 400 series. There was, let's say, 413. There was nothing approved for water or sewer.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there was $2,575 approved for the 2020. There's just something odd about that number.
Give me a second. I'm gonna check my last year's budget, find out what we did there. And I got nothing. I can't answer that one. I don't know why. That's the record's on. Correct.
Looks like that's another good revisit.
Yep, I think so too. There's something wrong in that line.
Can you just give me that line number again?
413. In distribution, and it's under sewer. And it either we put something wrong on what the approved budget was, or I don't know why we would have added that large of a figure in 2020. Because we're asking for none this year. Department didn't. So it looks like something that must have been, I wonder if we've got a misposting somewhere. Something's wrong.
Okay, so put that in the revisit.
We put it in there for some reason. Unfortunately, my budgets are all summaries. I can't find the reason why we put it in there last year. So and it did look like there was an expense charge in 2019. But I can't recall why. You can see how there was an expense against the water and the sewer in 2019. Then we went to budget for something. The only thing I think is maybe they were going to pay a share of the water sewer budget. No, we have a water bill at the garage. I don't know why that. I have to go back and revisit that one. Sorry.
This is the distribution budget, though.
Well, it's the distribution budget paying for their sewer service if they were paying a sewer service. So it would have to be their office. And I just don't understand why we would have done it because I can't explain it. So.
Okay, it's just one we'll go back to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back. I gotta figure out what the heck happened.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Okay,
money
anything
for
else?
sewer.
Yeah. Yep. You need it one year and then you don't need it the next. And the year before you paid $100. So something's screwy.
Anything else in the 400 series? $500 series? $600 series?
Yeah, Dave, like on 636 diesel fuel, you spent only $737 for more than half a year. I don't think it went down that much.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that.
And check the gas while you're doing it. These are just, looks like something's not being posted, but you can check those out. So that's 635 and 636.
Okay, we'll check those out, yeah.
Anything else on the 600 series? 700 series? 800 series? And 900 series?
Yeah, I have a question on the 900 series. Dave, do you have a figure if we've decided to take the decrease in debt service and put that in a capital reserve for water? Are you going to get us a figure on what that amount is that we should put into that capital reserve account?
It was submitted as a CIP plan to the CIP committee. And I forget what the number was, but we had the number in that is because it's going to be a warrant article. Is that correct, Jim? Did we put it as a warrant article to deposit into the cap reserve? Yeah, I think it went through the CIP committee.
I don't remember it. Okay, it could have. I just don't remember it as.
And I believe it's about 120,000. So something's not right with this book. What do you have, Jim, for the debt service reduction on this line item?
There's 102 and 21.
Okay, so 124,
About 20.
Yep.
Did we do last year's?
Last year, you just put in a number. Well, I'm not sure if you put anything last year. I don't think you. Well, we didn't put anything in via warrant article. Let's say that. And I don't know. You created the fund and put a deposit in, so there is money there. And I don't know what happened this year. We were proposing to put in the sum equal to or about what the debt service was. I submitted the CIP sheet with that number on it. But we would like to look at the overall operating budget also and see what that number would be. I would say it's being $100,000 to $120,000 range is what we'd be looking at.
Okay,
Anything else for the 900 series?
Brad,
Yes, Dave.
if, just to speak to the issue that Linda was talking about, when you look at the summary sheet that Jim had put together, that would maybe be in the front of the book.
Yep.
When you look at the water distribution, you see that the overall budget is dropped 117,799, or almost 12%. And that's mostly as a result of that debt service. But there are some other increases, and when we look at our overall rates, what they're based on, we would then make that recommendation. But I think it's in that range of 120,000, which would so basically we're not looking at reducing rates. We're looking at keeping the rates where they are and taking this money and putting it into cap reserve. If we don't put cap reserve, the money will just build up in our cash account, or hopefully we're going to go through with the rate increase, because we think it's necessary to keep the books balanced and to fund the cap reserve or the asset management plan.
yes, that's right. This is based on the asset management plan that we had done. That's why I thought we were doing it.
Yeah, but it doesn't come in this budget. I think it comes in a capital budget. Does that make any sense? Or am I misunderstanding that?
I'm not sure. I thought I thought we were going to get an attorney's opinion, but I thought within the fund itself, the Board of Selectmen could move, because it's an enterprise, you could move the money from one, we could just put it in the capital reserve account instead of it being a warrant article, because that's what we did the first time. But we need clarity on, and we should have a little legal opinion that should go with this, so we know for sure each year.
Yeah, I've got that as a note, and I'll reach out to Attorney Puffer and get a judgment on that.
All right. Okay. We're all ready for the treatment plant? 100 series?
Yes, 114. Why is there a large increase in 114?
We have moved from a half-time operator to a full-time operator. So this is, again, another reallocation of manpower. So originally, we had a foreman and 4 workers in the distribution and sanitary crew. Then we made one of the positions last year half operator and half maintenance. And then this year, we're saying that operator needs to be full-time. That person was training him to be our next grade 3 operator. He needs to be there full-time so he can understand the full complexity of the plant. And we felt it important where we have some other senior people who could be retiring soon, the need to get the young man trained, and that's working out pretty good. But this budget is just a reallocation of a man from the distribution to here.
And again, if you put that note.
Yes, it should be there. Yes, you're.
Then I don't have to, I had to answer, but they won't have to ask it. You'll get less.
Yep.
Questions.
Good point. I understand what you're saying now. That makes perfect sense.
Anything else on 100 series? 200 series? $300 series?
Telephone, did the rates go up on our telephone? Did we add more phone stipends? What took place in this budget?
I think the confusion with our cell phone and hotline and dedicated lines continues to be an embarrassment for me because I can never figure it out. So I delegate it to my people and they put the number in, and then I say, okay, I'm going to have to go back and explain. I really can't tell you why there are increased stipends on cell phones. Everyone now who's on call, carries a cell phone, then gets the stipend. So we have 4 for that. Then the other lines are the dedicated lines where we have our monthly charge. And one of them is a voice line. The other 3 are alarm lines that I thought we were going to be reducing, but they're still in here. In the increase, I'd have to go back to look at last year's budget to this year's. Give me a second, I can do that. It looks like we're paying for this. This budget is for 2 new cell phone stipends and for a line that was not being paid for out of this budget apparently now, which is being paid for out of the budget. So that accounts for most of the increase.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on 300 series? $400 series? $500 series? $600 series? $700 series? $800 series? And $900 series? Okay.
Mr.
So,
Chairman,
next we go down. Yes.
we've got a couple of capital outlay requests. There's one for Dave's requested under Public Works for the boat launch at the Libby. And then he's also got the capital outlays as requested for the water department, which is in line with what he did last year.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that you have at the
Which
capital outlay.
one? Yep. Why don't we start with the Public Works Department one for the Libby Dock and the boat ramp, if everybody has those in front of them.
So it wasn't that long ago that we had appropriated funds and rebuilt the boat ramp at the Libby Dock. But it is a commercial landing, and the barges companies that work on the islands and a lot of the shorefront communities have been using it heavily, and I'm told they do a pretty rough job on it. I've not witnessed it myself, but they have 10-wheel dump trucks, they have excavators, they're loading and unloading these, and we see the damage. So we have now at a point where we have to, we did some emergencies repairs, and we're going to have to rebuild this next year. And I guess we're going to have to beef up the design and the construction of it because obviously it didn't last, as well as I don't know how we're going to monitor the site. We had talked about a fee structure and getting all the barge owners to register and to pay a flat rate, and then to make sure everyone has insurance and then to try to do some spot inspections to find out, if someone's doing the damage, to see if they would pay for the repairs, or charge enough of a fee to recoup the money that we need to put into this. And I think someone might even talked about the potential to create a cap reserve fund and fund that fund with these fees. Now, unfortunately, we should have done that 10 years ago when we did the repair last time, but this one caught up on us. It's urgent. I think we're going to have to do it next year. And I don't know what else to say about it.
Dave, do we know if other towns are being used, their public accesses are being used by barge companies? I know some of the barge companies have their own access points. I go over in West Alton and over that way, but are we about the only municipality that they probably use as a public ramp?
I would say we may be the only one that's free. I don't know of any other ones that are used for commercial, except for people that pay, the marinas and the other areas, the commercial ones. So I'm not aware of any other one around the lake.
The reason I'm asking is just kind of figure out if there's a way for us to figure out, to come up with a structure fee. Because I agree, I remember talking about this before, and it's something I think we need to do. We have, the other commercial boats that come in, pay a fee at the town docks for us, the Mount, Winnie Bell, and the Millie B there and stuff. I don't see why this shouldn't be any different, because these guys are obviously going to do more damage than those boats coming in and stuff. So I think it's something we should definitely look at. So
I agree with you, Brad. I think we need to take a look at it. And my understanding from looking at it, that what happens, they gun their boats, just regular boaters gun their boats to get up onto their trailers, and what happens is there gets a hole just off the cement, which starts eating at the end of the cement. So I don't know what we need to do, whether it's at a more of an angle, which is causing us problems, or something there, because there seems to always get that hole on the end of it.
they gotta go further in the water with the ramp, so when they do that, they're over the ramp instead of over the gravel bottom of the lake.
Well, that ramp up there right now, it's got reinforcing rod coming right up through the concrete work that was done. Because I take my boat in and out of there. I think Brad, probably you do. But the ramp is in pretty rough shape right now. Isn't just from the gunning of the boats, it's from those barges coming up onto that ramp and breaking up the concrete. So yeah, I think we ought to look at some charges for them and put in some kind of an account.
That sounds good.
Those barges are really destroying the ramp. They're destroying the ramp up out of the water. It isn't just in the water.
Right.
I'm absolutely fine with this capital outlay. When I was down there looking at the wall, the ramp definitely needs it. So I think it sounds like a good plan. But I would like to also see us trying to recoup some of the costs.
Yeah. But I also agree, I think this needs to be put on the front burner here to get these repairs done next year here. So hopefully by the time these get done, we can be talking about it, fee structure moving forward for the next time. We might have the capital reserve already funded for whatever we would need to do, by the users. So. Anything else to add on that, Dave, or you're it's pretty straightforward.
Moving on that one.
Okay.
I have a question whether on this at all, we want to put a note that the board is planning to review a possibility of fees. Just to,
We should probably set an agenda item on your Board of Selectmen for that purpose, and we should notify all the commercial barges, invite them, and maybe I'll even throw out some crazy numbers to get their attention. We all know the amount of construction going on is big business. This waterfront and the island property is crazy, and we really might even look at a fee structure that's maybe X for Wolfeboro, but maybe 2 times X for non-Wolfeboro, because this is taxpayers, and in Tuftonboro, contractors are using our boat ramp free of charge, as is the whole lake uses all our ramps free of charge. So I think we might be a good opportunity to raise attention to it, and maybe we get some of them people to participate in a discussion what would be fair. No, I think it's something we got to make a priority of, and just got to get going on it.
I do, and I just was trying to get it because one of the places where the budget committee starts just taking out a knife and slashing is at your capital outlay in the back of your book, because it's easy. They can get big numbers, and I was hoping that maybe we could get some of that going, so when this comes through, that it may add another dimension to what we're asking for here.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Yep. Okay, we all good with the, with that one there for Libby? All right, which one do you want to do next, Dave?
So we jump into the water, and we have a list of 3 projects.
I
Follow up.
don't have anything underwater. Oh, wait, no, I do.
I got 2 here, I thought. One of them looks like a repeat.
I misfiled them, I think. The Middleton Road Water Booster Station.
That's one of them. Yep.
Okay, I filed them in the wrong place.
Okay, 2 I have are for, we got the seasonal water, and both of them for seasonal water. Must be another one I missed.
So we have a typo on this, so I'm going to go through them, and maybe if you have the sheets, I'll make the corrections as we go through them.
Okay,
Seasonal water line upgrades, which is for 60,000, is somewhat correct in that there are some typos, and I apologize for that. I did this probably late in the day and didn't proofread. So this is a follow-up from this year's study, and you may be aware we have over 200 seasonal customers whose lines are fed by water lines that run above ground. New Hampshire DS has said that we've got to do something about that, and that's the only weak point in our system. So this year we're doing the study identifying and figuring out which areas we might be able to connect to the year-round or protect reasonably at reasonable cost versus some of the lines which we're just going to have to abandon, and we're going to have to give notice to certain customers that by a certain date they'll have to be disconnected because the cost to try to upgrade the lines wouldn't make any sense. So this would be the next phase in going towards that process in which we would be actually replacing some of these seasonal lines with lines that would be protected in accordance with the state guidelines.
I'm gonna need a copy of that. I don't have that one.
And Linda, we will send out new ones. Again, I'm seeing multiple typing errors on this, so I'm kind of embarrassed on it. So I will issue a new one tomorrow, and Jim, I'll get that to you and get everyone updated ones for the seasonal lines upgrades that are dated 10/2/2020.
And David, you said 60,000?
Right. Now, there's a second sheet that I'm going to tell you, there's more, again, the second sheet is again, we have a problem here that it has a line item of $12,500. And that was supposed to be for the meter upgrade, and it is a mess here.
Yeah, well, I've
I
got
didn't know.
77.5.
And then the one for 77.5, that's the Middleton Road Booster Station. That's that one I think might be correct. The other 2 are mixed up.
I don't, yeah, well, I think they're mixed up too, because what I have is I have 2 sheets for 200 seasonal water customers. I don't have anything for the pump station.
Well, I have 2 Middleton Water Booster Stations. So
I have not.
obviously we need, you and I need to swap here, Dave. I think we need
Yeah, I think
these
so.
all new ones.
Brad, why don't we table this discussion until I get you the correct forms? Because I don't think there was a mix up here. So we'll get you the correct forms for the 3 projects. I can tell you there's one for seasonal water lines. There's one for the main water meter replacements, which is an ongoing project. And the other new one is for the Middleton Road Booster Station. And they total the same amount as last year. So when you look at the budget for this, it'll be the same amount of the 150,000 for capital outlay total.
Okay,
We'll get
That's a
back.
good
And these
idea,
are all
Dave.
necessary, not, Dave, are all these necessary, not urgent? When you check, it says department priority, urgent, necessary, desirable, and necessary is checked. Is that where you want them checked?
Well, again, each one is has a certain meaning to me, and hopefully it doesn't mean something different to you. But just because something is necessary doesn't mean that it should not be looked at as much as important. So in this situation, on the seasonal water lines, we've been dealing with the situation for 10 years. So you're asking me I could put it off another year? Love to. I'd love to put it off for 5 more years so I wouldn't have to deal with it. But it's necessary that sooner or later someone deal with the situation. Similarly, on the water meters, we cannot replace the water meters if it's not urgent. They're not broken, but we want to be on a regular routine of replacing them. So before they start reading slow, so those are necessary. But for instance, on the Libby Boat Museum, that's urgent. That's broken. We got to fix that. So I just make sure we understand why I put necessary.
Okay.
I mean that it's not very important, because if it wasn't very important, it wouldn't be here. All that stuff doesn't even make it.
All right. That's why I asked you that's exactly why I asked you. So that all 3 of those, since I don't have the seasonal water lines, are necessary. Not the seasonal water lines aren't urgent. Those are all necessary. Okay. I was trying to find out where you were with them all.
Nope, that's a fair statement. I got to be honest. When we look at the upgrades, we're trying to be proactive in some, and some are reactive.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I think, yeah, we should revisit this and, once we get the paperwork straightened out and everything, sounds good.
That sounds good.
You have anything else for us tonight, Dave?
I was hoping we would discuss the proposal for a new town engineer. And I think we had a management study that was done by Tater and Howard last year. If you recall, we had a discussion about adding a position, either the capital project manager, with the intent of trying to build a succession plan and to look at the department, what we're doing, and whether we would add another high-level management position. I think at the time the board said, no, let's put a hold on that, but let's see if we can find some money and do a study. So Jim and I worked together, and we put out an RFP, and we brought in Tater and Howard, who had some particular people who specialize in this and did this report for us. Unfortunately, it came out just as COVID was hitting, and as a result, we were not able to bring it to the board and have an open discussion with it. But the realities are in that report, which indicate we're doing pretty good for a small town, and we do quite a bit for the department we have. But as you are aware, even though we're a small town, we're like a city, because we have the full utilities and we have the big summer population. So we're really doing quite a bit for what we have. And the issues they talked about was that we should be looking seriously at a town engineer position, which would then lead to helping with some of the things that aren't getting done, or because we always seem to be in a crisis, and then also with helping us with our communication with our own staff, because one of the big issues we found is communication with our staff, from myself down through the workers. So in any case, Jim and I looked at this, and we had some hard discussions. Said this is a bad year to be bringing through a position, and should we do it, not do it? And we said no, let's not do it. And then we slept on it and said, you know what, we got a lot going on. We should at least bring it to your attention and have an open discussion about where we're going and why we think we need the position. So we did develop the job description, and I would say there's a lot of words there, but what we're really looking at is where we really have failed is we've been on asset management. In the true instance, we've been trying to develop an inventory of everything that we own and need to maintain. And we've done that with regards to getting grants through the DES with the water system and the sewer collection system. This year, we're going for a 4th one that'll hopefully get us for the wastewater treatment plant. And the good news is we have a very good inventory. The bad news is no one's updating it because I don't have the staff to update it, to keep it going. To say that every time I put in that new pump, that data is updated into that spreadsheet. To make sure that when we fail down on the buildings, we said we need to have an asset management plan so we can identify the projects that we're going to fund with the cap reserve fund. We failed there. We started working on it, and there's different reasons for our failure. One is we don't have the technical staff. I am your technical staff, and Scott Pike is your technical staff. Scott Pike is my, jack of all trades. He is out there, trying to teach the guys how to use the grader, how to make sure the water system is done properly, overseeing the mentoring of a new operator to be a chief operator. So he's doing everything, and as a result, what's suffering is the asset management plan, and we keep reverting back to crisis management. So our hope and our goal with this position would be to bring someone in to help us give a very specific task of implementing and taking where we are with our asset management plan, which is a very good inventory and an original condition assessment, and then keeping that up to date, and then feeding in as we do the capital projects. That money is fed back in, and then each year we give you a report saying, okay, we did X amount and we're working on the plan or above or below plan. About 6 or 7 months ago, I told you I was going to have a report to you at the end of the year on each of our asset management plans and explain to you what we've done, where we're going. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do it. And I can tell you we are working towards that goal, but I have no documentation to it. And there's no way I'm going to be able to do that for you. So I think the reality is, and as this report says, we got to make decisions. We have to have lower expectations of what the department can deliver, or we're going to have to start adding staff to make those deliverables something that we can accomplish. Because right now we're doing pretty good with crisis management. Our production is up. We go, but we are not doing a good job with the asset management plan, the road service management plan, my bridge maintenance plan, my sidewalk asset management plan, you name it. All that stuff that have all these great ideas, and we have a good baseline because it's there. We're just not building upon it because I just don't have the manpower in-house to get it done. So that's a lot of words there, and I'm doing a lot of talking, but that's the reason where we're at, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, or hopefully, and you have the finances behind it, what we're looking for.
Yeah, Dave, you had a question?
Yeah, can we get a copy of that?
The copy of what?
What you just talked about, whoever developed the information about a new position.
Well,
I got it by an email. It was emailed to us.
Yeah. About a week
When?
ago or so. Let's say about a week ago, was it?
I haven't seen anything. And I got 2 computers going, so.
Yeah, I believe it was emailed Thursday afternoon. I will make a copy for you, Dave, and put it in your box.
Yeah, if you would. Because
Will
for
do.
some reason, I'm not getting them on either one of my accounts.
Well, I think I was glad to see the report. I read it a second time. I read the job description. And it looks to me what we're looking for is a position for public works and water, sewer utilities as an engineer. So it's really an engineer for those departments. I don't see it as a town engineer. It's all under the running of Dave, and if it was going to be a town engineer and that was his main job, it would be more underneath Jim. So, and even in the report, in one place on page 4, they referred to it as the, let's see, page 4 of the report, they even called it a new public works engineer. And that's an alternate 2. And then later down, it talked about a town engineer. So I think we need to do some more talking about the job description, about what this person is really going to do. And then on the job description, under certifications and licensing, and I think it makes sense for them to have a grade 3 water treatment operator, but then it says will be the town's primary operator for the water distribution system in accordance with New Hampshire DES rules. So it seems like that's really not an engineer. So I think we may have some fine tuning to do between what we have here as the job description and what we're really looking for and all the different areas that this person is going to be involved in.
Linda, I guess I'm a little surprised. I'm not sure the job description you're looking at. That was not the intent. The intent for the certifications was to have a professional engineer, not a grade 3 operator. So I'm not sure. Maybe if I messed that up or I got you the wrong one, I apologize. And I don't seem to have
Well,
that.
I'm just saying, this is our first look at this, all right? And so that I spent the time reading it, that's saying there, I'm having a hard time with the job description, which I got, not something I made up, and the report I got, and this is our first discussion, we should look at those things.
Yeah, well, that's important. I'm sorry. Again, but I can just explain to you that I don't understand your question about a town engineer versus a public works engineer. I don't know if I understand that, but I do apologize for the job description. And I'm not sure, again, because I don't seem to have it in front of me. But let me get back to you on that to make sure. So you're concerned that there would be a different person or a town engineer would answer directly to the town manager? Is that what you're saying?
Part of it would be in the facilities, that it would be under, our buildings would be under the town manager. If we were including our buildings, it didn't seem like we're including our building in what I read. What you said was you were going to include the asset management plan for buildings. So I don't see that in the description.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly what we're doing. A town engineer who was then going to be responsible for all the projects in relationship to all the buildings, that would seem to be more under the town manager. All the stuff of public works and of water sewers would absolutely be underneath you. And the flow chart has all the responsibilities to you. So that's my question. This is my first look at it. It's the first conversation. I hope you didn't expect this to be the final draft and we were going to talk about it.
I didn't think it was going to come to you at all. It was a surprise to me also. So I'll tell you that I will get the job description squared away. The intent of the position, as I was summarizing, was mainly for asset management, but also to be a position that would be transitioned, hopefully, if I retire in 2 to 4 years here, that someone else would be ready to step in who had some institutional knowledge, not starting fresh or green. So there were the two reasons for the town engineer position. I always thought that I was the town engineer, I was the public works director, that the town manager always came to me on all engineering issues. The building and grounds, I thought, was coming under public works operations as it's shown on the flow charts. So I don't know, I don't understand the question. Is still about the engineer versus, I don't understand it, but I will get the job description corrected so that it reflects what the flow chart reflects, which is, you know, the asset management being the big issue, technical review, helping with capital projects, and assuring a quality control on our projects, which we're concerned about because we're always in crisis management, and also making sure of our safety program, which I think we've done a great job, but we always seem to lack, and I'm worried about our safety. So these are things that the engineer was supposed to be, and the job description, I will apologize. I'll try to get that squared away for you. And also the feel that this would be the succession plan, that in 2 or 3 years, you'd have someone who'll be able to take over.
I think I agree, Dave, going back to the fact that, you know, I think we need to keep this on the agendas now and the discussions going and see if it's going to move forward. Hopefully it does move forward, and we're going to address these and get set up in a plan for our future here. So I'd like to see this stay on our agenda items probably for as we're meeting this Wednesday, possibly the meeting after that, to have materials ready to maybe have a discussion on it and stuff, so we still catch it in this budget season if we decide to, adjust some things and put forward on it. So that sounds like a plan. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah, because I had some questions, my last question was also, and if we're looking at that person to be a succession to you, I think what the person that we're looking for here is a older, more mature person. There was one thing you said, that we could look for somebody who would be kind of under you, who eventually would get their engineering license in the state. Then I guess I was looking for somebody who was older, who would have an easier time dealing with some of the contractors than trying to hire somebody that we bring up in 1 or 2 years. And maybe I misread that wrong, but that was what I thought I was reading in the email that sent out.
But there's a range, and clearly, as we're trying to create this new position, there'd be a range for a starting engineer. And if I was going to be here for 10 more years, well, heck, I'd get an EIT, get them really cheap and train them really well. But we don't know what we're going to have for a talent pool when we put out the ad, if we do fund the position. So there's a range of salaries I looked at, and there's a range of people that could fit the bill. But a lot goes to, like you said, what is the job description, making sure we're clear what the expectations are, what the person would do and what the person would not do. So I think you've asked some good questions, Linda. I also, if you have any other questions, I'd like to hear them now. That'll help me make you better prepared when we come next time for the next meeting.
That sounds good. I just thought this was our initial look at the project, and that we give you this feedback, and we may, as you redefine it, as we kind of work and come to consensus on exactly what makes the most amount of sense and how we see the position. I think that's where you and I are different. From what I read, I read the job description, it said something different than I heard you say to me.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed I don't have that with me, so I'm kind of confused what I wrote. Yeah, I'll get that squared away and try to answer those questions, and anything else that might come up, we'll try to do a better job explaining it, and we'll see where we go with it.
I think it sounds good, Dave. Anything else this evening, board? Dave, have anything else for us?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
You want a motion to adjourn?
We're gonna do a public input session first. If there's anybody out there, it's on our agenda. Is there anybody out there, the public that wants to speak to us this evening?
No.
Go ahead, Dave, make your motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Jim?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce, as of today, we finalized and come to agreement with a gentleman by the name of Tavis Austin, and he will be our new Director of Planning and Development. Right now, he's scheduled to come on board October 30th. So that's done, and he'll be coming on board.
That's
Okay,
good
do
to
you
hear.
think this is a CV and maybe a picture or something, so we know a little bit about what he did in the past?
Yeah, I will absolutely forward to you his resume, cover letter, to give you an idea of his background. And I would anticipate seeing him at the first Board of Selectmen's meeting in November.
Sounds good. Anything else for us this evening?
Dave, you're
I think
on.
Dave, I heard you make a motion to
I'll
adjourn
make a motion to adjourn.
again.
Also.
It's a second to adjourn. Roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Dave? And Brad votes yes also. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you.
Right.
Right.